This is Jonathan Cahn with a word for this hour. If you've read The Harbinger or The Paradigm, you know that we are replaying an ancient template of judgment. America is following the same course that ancient Israel followed when it turned away from God and ultimately headed to judgment and destruction. Key in that fall of ancient Israel was the god Baal or Baal. Baal was the god of power, the god of fertility, of prosperity, of sexual immorality. Baal was the god of their apostasy. When they turned away from God, they turned to Baal. And Baal was the god that they offered their children to as sacrifices. They would approach his altar, they put their baby in the metal hands of the idol of Baal, and they would roll their baby into the flames. God would judge them for that. America has also followed the spirit of Baal. We are following the spirit that a nation follows when it turns away from knowing God. We have turned to the spirit of Baal. We have followed the god of prosperity, of power, of apostasy, of sexual immorality. And we have offered up our children, not thousands as they did. We have offered up millions of our children, of our unborn, on the altars of self-obsession. We have offered up over 60 million children in abortion. Could the sign of Baal appear on American soil? In the autumn of 2016, the sign of Baal appeared in New York City. I went down there for the unveiling of this unholy object, the Arch of Baal. And we actually showed it to you. We'll show you a little clip of them unveiling it to Middle Eastern music with the leaders of New York City praising this thing. It was the Arch of Baal, a reproduction from the Middle East, or of the Middle Eastern Arch, that led the worshipers of Baal into the temple of Baal. And again, this is the worship that involved the offering up of children. It is the sign of a nation that has fallen from its God, and now it appeared in America. And where? In New York City, the center of abortion, the abortion capital of America. Well, this is appropriate for an object of Baal. It's also the place, New York, where abortion became spearheaded abortion as the law of the land. But the timing was also important. It was autumn 2016, and there was a great conflict, or a great convergence. It was the election of the autumn of 2016, the election for president, Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. And never before had the issue of abortion, the issue of Baal, become such a brazen issue. For the first time in its history, the Democratic Party literally celebrated abortion at its convention and vowed to strike down every hindrance to abortion in America. This is the issue of Baal. And so now it appeared at the time heading to the election in New York City, New York, which is the place of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Actually, they both were there in New York City on the night of the election. It was almost like a spiritual warfare, conflict over this, a dark warfare, because the forces that are for abortion are ultimately linked to Baal. Now, in the paradigm, it mentioned two cities. I mentioned two cities linked to Baal or abortion. One was New York City, and the other is Washington, D.C. See, these are the two capitals of Planned Parenthood. And it's also the one, New York, is where abortion was spearheaded for the nation, and Washington is where abortion was made the law of the land through the Supreme Court. Well, now they are planning to put up the Arch of Baal in Washington, D.C., the capital of America. Why now? We have another election coming up, the midterm election, which is going to be crucial and critical to the future on all these issues: abortion, religious freedom, all these issues concerning believers. And right now is the issue of the Supreme Court, the very vessel that legalized abortion. Well, now there is, when I'm saying this right now, there is someone who's the candidate for confirmation, and all the forces that are for abortion are going crazy. And the issue is not about the person, it's not about any scandal. The issue is clearly about life and death, abortion. And the forces which are for abortion see this as a threat that from the Supreme Court, what was done in 1973 could be undone. It's clearly a war that's a spiritual war, spiritual warfare concerning the spirit of Baal. And the idea is if those forces which are for abortion can hold out till November, that's it. They will have victory. So the Arch of Baal is now being set up in Washington, D.C. And now the arch that is linked to the killing of children. And when is it going to be set up? Now, many of you will see this online later, but still pray. It's going to be set up, it's scheduled to be set up on September 26th. That is one day before the hearing that is coming. And it will be there basically for the week of the hearings. The Arch of Baal. Now, nobody's planning this, knowing that it's linked, all these things are linked together. But it's spiritual. This is telling you something. Believers, this is a critical time. Whether you see this before the events, whatever's going to happen with the Supreme Court, or after, this is a critical time. The election is a critical moment. We need to pray. Fervently, like the prayers of Elijah. We need to pray for America, for revival, and for this election. And we need to vote as well. If you can do anything, whatever you can do towards the purposes of God for life, you need to do it. Or else we cannot say anything the day after. And we don't want blood on our hands. The Harbinger revealed we are a nation heading for judgment. The paradigm reveals we are in that progression of judgment. We are in a window of time. This is like a chance. This is like a reprieve. We have a window of time to turn back and to pray for revival and work for revival. Well, this is the time, but the window is not forever. The window will close, and it may close sooner than some think, depending on what we do. It matters, what do we do now? This is our moment, people of God. This is critical, a critical moment, and it is life and death. It is judgment or revival. One of them. Without revival, there is no hope for America. We need to pray for revival, work for revival, minister for revival, spread the gospel for revival, and repent for revival. We need to start living in revival. You start living revival, the revival begins now. So this is an appeal. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek my face and turn from their evil ways, I'll hear from heaven, I'll forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. Brothers and sisters, this is our moment. Rise to it. Don't fail. Rise to it, for everything is depending on it. God bless you.